Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. Today we have Victor Alves and Gaspar Rivera in from San Antonio. We're going to be talking about scaling the rehab process. Before I get into that, I just want to briefly chat about what Propelio is, because a lot of people watch these shows and they're like, what is Propelio? Basically, we're your one-stop shop for your real estate investor tools and what your needs to grow your business. If you need comps, if you need leads, if you need lead management, even if you need education, motivation, the difference is those last two things, those are for free. So check out Propelio.com. Guys, welcome. Good morning.
Hi,
thanks for driving in.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Yes.
Excited.
Excellent. So we're going to be talking about the scaling aspect. I know we talked briefly about how last year you did 2 to 4 houses in 1 year, and now you've done 15 houses in the past 8 months.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it was been a process, but between me and Gaspar really joined forces about a year ago now. So we've been together a year. We've been collaborating and doing stuff about 3 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
But we really joined forces about a year ago, and we went from me and him between each other doing 4 flips a year, and then we just slammed it out the door to 15, which for us the key was a couple of things, which was us being able to split time
Mm-hmm.
and being able to systematize everything that we did.
So it sounds like on a very surface level that you have your specialties, you have your specialties, you all
Yes.
kind of stay in your separate realms, but together you work together and make a lot of money.
Yes.
Yes.
that's the idea.
In a nutshell.
So basically, what we decided is Victor and people in the San Antonio market know that Shape Up Homes has a very good marketing strategy, has deep marketing, and me, for my properties, we were doing more rehabs, and we were buying from wholesalers and some MLS, but not deep marketing strategies.
Mm-hmm.
So joining forces, his marketing and he focusing on the marketing and I focusing on the rehabs, that would just multiply the business.
So before y'all were together, were you mainly wholesaling?
So yes, my first year I strictly wholesaled. Second year I wholesaled and do 2 flips, and then third year we've partnered and we did what we did.
But on your 2 flips, you're probably like, that's a hammer.
Yeah, I'm not a handy guy. Maybe now I'm a little bit more, but changing light bulbs was as handy as I got before. But and it took a lot of time. So what I didn't realize is when I was wholesaling, my main focus, and I'm a marketing geek, so I love marketing. When I was wholesaling, it was just marketing, getting the properties, moving it, and that's it. When I started doing my flips, I was like, shit, I have to market, go meet with sellers, negotiate, follow up, and then I have to be at least a couple times a day in my projects to make sure that my contractors are not messing up. And on top of that, they're calling me twice a day, like, hey, this happened, what do I do? And I'm a visual guy, so
you gotta go see it.
it.
I will say, probably one of the worst mistakes investors can make is, they spend all this money on marketing, spend all this money doing the wholesaling, go out there looking at deals, looking at, cool, I got a flip. Well, I need to concentrate on this flip, so they stop marketing.
Yeah.
And what happens when you stop marketing? Your pipeline dries up. Mm-hmm. So, Gaspar, what were you doing? How were you finding your houses before you were working with Victor? Were you already rehabbing? And
I was already rehabbing. I had one good marketing strategy. Then I had a realtor that I really created a good work team with him, and he fed me some deals. And then I bought some wholesales, one from Victor, for example.
Yeah. Right.
And that kept me busy on a 4 or 5 rehabs a year scale. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to grow, I knew that source of properties was not going to scale with me.
So basically, you saw how much he made on a wholesale. You're like, screw that! I want to work with him and not give him all that money.
Well, actually, I gotta give it to him. It was his proposal. After funny story, first I sold I sold
My first
wholesale
came from him.
to him because I bought on MLS. There was some space. Actually, it was a short sale, and I sold it to Victor. And Victor that was his first rehab, and then he sold one to me at the beginning of last year. And then we were competing for the same house. Literally, we were competing at the same house. And I called him and said, "You just won that house from me."
Yeah.
And we are also part of the same network group in San Antonio, Fortune Builders Group.
Yeah.
So we knew each other quite well, and we were competing and cooperating. And he called me for advice. I called him for advice.
And we always since the beginning, we kind of clicked, and basically anything that come to do with rehab, I would call Gaspar, hey, this happened, what would you do? And then he would call me when it comes to marketing, hey, I'm thinking about starting this campaign, what do you think? And we kind of collaborated on that part. I bought one from him, he bought one from me, and then the pinnacle was us competing, and literally he was standing in front of the house, and I'm calling him and saying, look, what would it cost? It was a fire damaged house. What would it cost to redo all the roof? What's that cost? And he's literally standing in front of the house. I didn't tell you where it was. I was like, oh, it's the northeast side of San Antonio, whatever.
He's like 123 Main Street.
And he's like, what do I do? Do I tell him the truth? or do I tell him a number so that his things go pull off? So he told me hey, this is what I spend on a other house that I've done that was literally a shell. And I ended up calling the wholesaler saying, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to buy the house from you. And he literally called the wholesaler 5 minutes later, and she's like, it's done. So he called me. It's like, you bought the house, right? And I'm like, yep, I did. So, and then we're let's stop competing. We have two skill sets that we're good at. Let's try one house.
Well, I know a lot of investors, I know myself, JV all the time. So did y'all start out as a JV, or did y'all just go both feet in the pool and say hey, let's just do this together?
So we started with a JV, and we said, let's dance before we
Right.
Married.
we get married or something like that. So we did one JV, and then another one came, and even in between, he had a deal, I had a deal. We did them separately while we were JVing
Right.
on one of the properties, maybe two. But at some point, it just started to make sense.
Right.
And one thing is, we respect each other, and I know the rehab process, he knows the marketing. I'm not going to go and tell him what to do on marketing. I want to understand, I want to see the results, I want to understand the process.
You want to learn
Give
for your,
feedback.
I want to
Yes.
learn, but I'm not going to mess with his business. I know he does it well. That's why we joined. So he does his business, and he lets me do my business. And I think that's a critical part of joint venturing. You have to respect. So I have final decisions on my part. He has final decisions on his, and we share everything else. So now we're a permanent JV, if you want to wish, and we're planning the
entity structure wise was where we're
we're
finalizing
getting
right
into
now.
that.
Okay.
But yeah, we're still JVing, but we're basically JVing
Everything.
for technical
Everything.
reasons. Yeah.
Yes.
So on that, because I know you each had your own strategies beforehand, and you're the main rehabber guy and you're the main marketer guy, but you dabbled in rehabbing and you dabbled in marketing. Do you still talk? Are you still the main contact for, say, that realtor that gave
That realtor integrated into our team.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, well, he's not. Yeah, but we still use him.
right.
But he sends the leads to me. So everything leads
Yes.
related goes to acquisition related goes to Victor. Everything, all the contractors that I had, that's actually a crew goes contact. So basically when we decided hey, we're going all in together, we sat down with each individual that we worked with. Look, this is your new contact. This is your new contact.
See, and that's smart because there's no conflict of communication.
No.
There's no Victor told me this, where Gaspar told me this. It's
No.
no, he didn't, because I know him. He's not gonna do that.
No,
Yeah,
no, and
exactly.
they and the contractors talk to me, and I am the boss on that. And
Right.
Yeah.
marketing, he's the boss, and there's no confusion about it.
And
And we complemented. For example, Victor had a plumber. I didn't have a plumber, so he brought his plumber. He was better than whatever I had. So we're working with what he had as a plumber. Yeah.
So
So
Yeah.
that's one way of doing it. So we didn't, through our past, away, we integrated our pasts.
So because I can do math, because I know last year you said you did 2 to 4 and you did 2 to 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's still only, if I add those together, 8 to 9 at max. On your own together. So clearly you're doing something right from the scaling aspect of what we're talking about, because now you've already done 15 in 8 months, which is, basically double-ish of what y'all were doing individually.
Yeah.
Yes. So in this aspect, what we sat down and we clearly said, 1 plus 1 cannot be 2. 1 plus 1 has to be 5. If it's going to make sense.
Yes.
Well, because there's no reason to 50-50 on that 1-to-1.
Yes. There's no reason. So, and we're not at 5, but we are at 3 or maybe at 3.5.
Right.
So now our challenge is going from 3.5 to 5, and that entails different problematics to solve. But yes, we've been fortunate and dedicated enough to make it grow, and we have to.
I think the main
keep at it.
Yeah, I think the main part of it is like the time aspect that we discussed on the scaling aspect of it was to be able to devote your time and attention into one single thing, and then I'm very I'm extremely to annoying part organize and to systematize everything. Sometimes. And that's why Gaspar is a great addition to me. He's a little bit more relaxed on the organization. So with me being too much and he being a little bit less, we kind of find a good medium of part of it. But we try to systematize everything that we're doing on the rehab. So before we started going bananas and buying, we're look, we have 2 templates of houses that we're basically doing. We have our gray house and we have our brown house, that's what we call it. And these are the fixtures that we're putting on it. This is kind of the finish that we're putting on this one. So that way we can literally just get each template and go from house to house and just put whatever we want. We tweak things here and there. The same thing with the acquisition. We're look, we need to buy. I've been doing going through a lot of digging into figuring out how to come up with a purchase price calculator. So we created one that gives us the margin that we're trying to get from that house, and based on that margin, it gives us what we need to buy it at automatically in our CRM. So we built that up so that I don't have to think on that aspect of look, what can we offer? What does our margin need to be? We discuss that, and I just go there and buy. So
well, one thing you said, because you were saying you're very anal about the numbers and the systems, whatnot, and he's more relaxed. Hopefully not too relaxed, because if you're in charge of the rehabs, that's level enough.
No,
the foundation. Yeah, I'm just oh, that's good.
No, and what we're saying is, what Victor's saying is, for example, he would have 45 folders and levels to store. I will have 1 or 2, right? But everything is documented. Everything is done.
Yeah, no, it's the part that we're different. On the rehab, he's more anal with the finishes and stuff. I think I'm a little bit more relaxed. But when it comes to organization, folders wise, I literally have, for example, a buy folder, and my buy folder has title, has deal analysis, has this and has that, and 6 different folders in there. That's really not necessary, but it's just because I want to know.
Well, you got to do whatever you need to do to make the deal work. So if that makes you more comfortable,
yes,
because some people can just shoot from the hip all day long, and I don't know how they do it, but they're able to get houses.
Yeah.
So you were talking about you have your gray house and you have your brown house. So it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, that y'all are buying materials possibly in bulk, and then that material may just transition to the next house?
Well, we're working, and how we buy materials is something that we keep evolving, and it depends on what we're doing. We have a typical budget-wise and design-wise, we have 2 main things, and then we deviate from that depending on the house, because
the comps and whatnot.
Because you buy a house, you want to apply your template, and it just doesn't fit, right? So you have to tweak it a little, and that's every time you have to do it. So we have that, but we already know what kind of things we do. Our wives help with some of the design and some of the quality control.
Blue tapes
and all that stuff. And they help us with design and all that. So I'm more of, let's go do this, and I buy the same lamp for 3 houses, and suddenly I get called and say, no, you did that last time, do this differently.
Yeah.
But we buy bulk, and we're always looking for better material prices, but we don't have like a warehouse where we buy things and store it.
Got it.
Yes.
Right? Because you never know what you're going to use.
Right.
And but if we find a good deal, the other day I found a fantastic deal for a floor that was a clearance on floor and decor, and I bought it, even though the house is
Right.
2 or 3 months from that.
Yeah, that's because one thing I know, like with me, it's like I wish I was to the point where I had a warehouse, because I know on a rehab several months ago there was like a couple of gallons of paint left over. I was like, damn it, why am I throwing this away? I wish I could like keep it
somewhere.
Or I mean, I think we left it with the house, but it's just like, why can't I just use that
Yeah.
on the next house?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm wasting money.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
it
yeah,
happens.
and that right now, because of the volume too that we grown, we were able to buy. For example, there's one flooring that we bought for 2 or 3 houses, maybe.
Yes.
The same flooring, because it was similar price points, similar finishes that we're doing. So we just
And the
bought,
time frame
just worked well. So we just bought a bunch of them and just put it all in the house. And sometimes we just, because they're like close in the finishing, we just leave it at one house and then move it to the other one.
Speaking of finishing, and I mean, I know the answer, but sometimes people that listen, watch Propelio, we have people that are brand new, we have people that are experts. You mentioned the blue tape, and you mentioned the wives coming in and assisting with that. What is that? What are you talking about? What are you referring to?
So blue tape is the final stage of a rehab, right? Is whenever the contractor tells you it's done, and you go in to check all the little details, like the scratch here, like it's not caulked correctly over there, and you come literally with the blue tape, and you go and you put all the corners and the entire house, what needs to be like touched up. And the reason why we have the wives come is because me and him, he more than I am, like, are in the project consistently. Like, so I have appointments next to the house, so I end up stopping and taking a look to see what's going on. So we're there, so we don't kind of like grow blind to certain things. So the wives come, and the wives, they're more like detailed oriented, and they like a little more perfection. So they come and they just fuck up the whole wall.
Baby, I thought you loved me. Why are you blue tape the whole house?
But it's not me. Like, it's the contractor who tell them, like, look, they're coming. Are you sure you're ready? Like,
Right.
I even joke around with one of our guys, like, that I used before, and they're now our crew. That I was like, look, my wife is coming. Are you confident that you're done? And he's like, yeah, make her come.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's an important part of the process, and yeah, you grow. You're there so much that scratch that you saw and you said, I gotta take care of that.
Yeah.
You went out, you forgot about it. You came, you see it, you forget about it. It's
Yeah.
Well,
you need a fresh pair of eyes, a fresh pair
It's
of.
the same thing like on the acquisition side when you're looking at, like, say you come into a house and then the house is like at a 90, 80, 45 degree angle, and you're like, this has obvious foundation. Like, what foundation issues? Because they've been living it with it 10 years.
Yes.
They don't notice. So, yeah, if you're always looking at the house, you're painting the same spot.
Yes.
Clearly, you're not going to see that.
Yeah.
In my old different life, we would call, instead of blue tape, we would call that a snag list. Like the snag, it's, before the project's finished, you have the snag list and what you would go through. So blue tape, snag lists, all the same thing.
Punch list.
Punch list. Yeah, there's different terminology, but basically it's the same thing.
And that's the final step before you.
And it's for me, it's the most important step, because that's all the little details that the person that's buying your house is going to see that you sometimes overlook. And every time we overlook something or we don't have them come because of some timeline, which happened once, like, we always get in trouble from them, and we always get the feedback, there's like some things that weren't quite finished, and that sucks.
Yeah, and obviously the main reason to have an effective punch list, blue tape, snag list is the whole reason is you want to sell this quickly and you want to sell it at a premium price.
Yeah.
So if somebody walks in and there's no issues, great. Obviously, when you're doing that final punch list, you would rather have few blue tapes. I remember a couple months ago, a local investor here in Dallas, Clyde Kemp, he posted something on Facebook, and it literally looked like a solar system of constellation of blue, just blue tape everywhere.
Well, and one of the things that we use to quality control contractors and see who stays, because we have tried different contractors at different times. One that I used last year, once he finishes, you see the quality, you do the blue tape, they don't see it, they don't take care of it, then you don't use that guy again, right? So it's important, it's a quality control, not only for you, but for your team.
Right, spray over or whatever.
It's what to expect too, right? Like you're setting expectations when you first meet with contractors, which is like crucial. Every time you meet with a new contractor that you're trying to bring to your team is set expectations so that you don't have the issues that a lot of newer investors have, is like by blindly trusting. And it happened to before when we were like just collaborating. He sent me one of his electricians, which he's been using on several houses, and I went to use the guy and I could not stand him. But I blindly trust. It was like I blindly trust him, and he ended up costing me an extra week on the project because he was a slow worker, you know. And I'm more of a fast-paced guy. So him like taking his time was driving me nuts, and it wasn't fitting with my personality. So we had like a lot of conflict in that project. So I never used them again. Now we don't use them because we came into consent, but but when we found a better electrician too. So, but it was one of those things like you have to really set the expectations and interview those guys so you really understand what you're dealing with, and they understand you, to see if it's a good fit. Because just because he's good for him or for you doesn't mean he's going to be good for me
or us.
Us, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and another thing important for us to scale is if you find good guys, keep them. Don't cheapstake them.
And keep them busy so they don't
keep
run
them
off.
busy. That's important, and it helps because your communication streamlines. Your communication gets faster. They already understand what you want. So we have 2 or 3 teams now that we're regularly using, right? General contractors, and they already know that we want a niche on the shower. So I don't have to tell them that I want a niche on the shower. They would ask me, where do you want the niche? They know I want it. They know we're going to do it. So it's easier. It becomes easier to set up the expectation and to do the specifics of the project if there's already some common language, some common things.
Yeah, because as an investor, you want, whether it be your title company, your lawyers, your accountants, your insurance, your whatever aspect of the industry, you want people to know what you want. You don't want them to ask you what you want, because you're like, just do it.
Yeah.
Do your job.
Yes.
I'm hiring you, so I don't have to think about it. Hey guys, if you're watching this, you like it, please give us a like, please give us a share. We've got Victor Alves and Gaspar Rivera in from Shape Up Homes from San Antonio. So please give us some love. Get this video out there. Everything we do here is free, so check it out. If you need leads, if you need comps, if you need lead management, check out Propelio.com. So going back to the scaling aspect, I know right now we're talking mainly as far as the nitty gritty of just the rehab side. Well, before we get into, we never really got into marketing, because I know one of the biggest questions people always ask is, well, what kind of marketing are you doing?
So that's what kind of marketing is. Right now we do a lot of signs, and we do direct mail, and we're starting to dabble more into the online space, paid and non-paid advertising. And we work with wholesalers, we work with realtors to get deals, and I think the question that everybody asks after that all the time is, what's the best one, right?
Right.
What's the best marketing? And I use the cliche that everybody says, it's the marketing that you do consistently.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter if you send 5,000 letters, if you send it once, it's not going to work. If you send it 6 times, you might get a deal.
Right.
So whatever you do, whatever your budget is that you can afford, pick something that you can afford and think that you're not going to get a return for 6 to 8 months. If you put that in your head, that's whenever I first started doing my marketing, I had $500 to do marketing, right? So I was like, what can I do that's going to have $500 that I can spend in marketing? And I figured signs, networking, and very targeted small areas, direct mail. And that fit my $500. I would literally writing them by hand, Then I got smart and I created a stamp that was handwritten, so I didn't have to write my address, at least stamped. And then it grew from there, you know. So it's just whatever fits you and your budget.
And that's a good tip because, you know, people love to overthink the marketing. And I think you hit the head on the nail on the head, whatever that expression is. It's, you know, you got to do what fits your personality, fits your budget, and what works for you.
Yeah.
Just because it works for Victor doesn't mean it's going to work for Ryan. Just because it works for Ryan doesn't mean it's going to work for Joe Bob down the street. Yeah. So I think that's a great tip. You need to self-reflect and really figure out what it is you want to do. Yeah. So we talked a little about that. We talked about the rehab side. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the scaling aspect.
Okay.
Because we did talk about, you know, 1 + 1 cannot equal 2 because otherwise this is worthless.
Yes.
It's got to eventually get to that 3 + 5.
Yes.
How does that work for you guys? Like, what is your plan? What have you done in the past? What is working? What's not working? Open-ended question. Go.
Yeah. I think what really allowed us is we discussed after the first JV week when we started, we sat down and we had like weekly meetings that took like 4 hours each meeting, and now it's getting a little bit less, but still, to set up parameters, right? Like, what do we have to do? What do these things have to look like? And once we set that, then you would just really multiply, which meaning setting parameters is how much of rehab per week has to move in order to be fit our standards. You know, so if we're having a $70,000 rehab, you know, we typically like to say that we're spending about $7,000 a week, so that rehab should last 10 weeks. So that's our standards that we need to set. On the rehabbing side is standardizing fixtures. You know, we have paints, like countertops, cabinets. So we have the white and black combo on the cabinets in the kitchen. Black countertops, white cabinets, and then the other way around, brown with a little bit lighter color. And we go that, and we sat down and did all that, and that allowed us to start moving in more scale. And obviously with the marketing, it helped us be able to tighten up our rehab estimates, which allowed me to give more accurate offers, get deals done, and take away the question that I always had when I first started, like 1.5 years, is always having option. Now, like, we don't have option in our houses. Even with homeowners, like, if I give you an offer, you know, I have my margin set, I have my rehab pretty darn good to where it needs to be.
Right.
So my offer is my offer.
Yeah, I think especially from a wholesalers or new acquisition type people out there, and even people that have been doing it a while, you get out there and like, this is going to take about 20-ish. Yeah. This is going to take about 30-ish. And then after you get the contract, after you get your contractors in there, then you really hone up those numbers. Yeah. But it's almost like, throwing a dart at a wall to determine what that acquisition is.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we have worked and is helping us, and we started, is we're documenting a lot of things. And one of the things, for example, the rehab budget, we said this house is going to take $80,000. We end up the rehab. We go back and say, okay, we said we're going to spend $1,500 or $2,000 on light fixtures. How much did we spend? Mm-hmm. We spent $1,450. And we are tracking that. So now if we give a rehab estimate, we are not off by more than 5%. It's really rare that we're off by 5%.
And
so that help us be accurate, understand what we're doing, and keep it under control, which is really important to scale. The other thing that we haven't mentioned that has been really important for us to scale, and it's not marketing and it's not rehabbing, is funding. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? I think that's one of the pieces that we've been successful in joining forces to bring together. It's funding sources, because everybody has access, or everybody has access to hard money lenders and all that. Right. We decided that for us to scale, we needed to start addressing and get better terms and address and get more private lenders working with us. Mm-hmm. So between his connections, my connections, our connections, we're working hard to expand our private lender network and contacts and we've been successful into funding a lot of our deals, not all of them, but a lot of our deals with private money.
Yeah.
And that gives us ability to scale, to know that we have the money back there to back that house that he's getting, that we're going to buy.
And we're not coming with money out of pocket per se to buy those houses. You know, like with the private money lenders that we're typically working with, like they fund 100% of the project, so there's no, you know, on the hard loan side there's points and fees and like closing costs and stuff like that. Most of them, they just fund our whole acquisition and rehab cost.
And you actually get money back at closing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allows us to
and
not all of them, but
and we come out of pocket with all the expenses.
Yes.
Right.
But not the purchase, not the rehab, or very little if we do. So that has been a critical part for us being able to scale, because yes, we can rehab, but if you don't have the money to buy the houses on the right conditions, then
that with us team joining forces, I think the branding got stronger, which allowed us to get more of the lenders to trust us and kind of like, look, this is what we're doing. And one of the things that surprisingly, it's a little tip that everybody that's rehabbing should do is start posting videos on your Facebook live, like of you doing the rehab. You would be surprised of how much the lenders that are lending money on that house appreciate to see that their money is actually going toward the house.
Where it used to go.
Not
It's
going
not
toward
in-
Nigerian.
Yes. Or my new backyard or something like that. It's actually going to the house. So like I'm more like the marketing guy. So like I go once a week or sometimes a week to do the videos and show like, look, this is the progress. You know, it creates credibility for you, and it creates great feedback to your private lenders, because look, they get to see, because private lenders, they enjoy, a lot of them, some of them don't care about the houses, they just want to get the return. But majority of them, we have a feeling that they like to see the process. Even though they're not doing it, they like to see how their money is making something nice.
Right.
So they get to enjoy the whole shebang.
So earlier when I was listening to, when you were talking about the systematizing to be scaled, going back to the rehab, it sounds like y'all are really firming up the numbers. You're sitting together, and instead of having that throw in the dark rehab price for a potential buy, you're able to really firm up, like you said, within 5% for an offer. Now, if you're buying from a direct seller versus a wholesaler who's trying to build in his fee. Clearly, you're going to have a much better competitive edge to buy that house, because you're trying to buy it as a flipper versus a wholesaler trying to buy it for a wholesaling fee.
Yes.
So inherently, I'm hearing that you're getting a competitive edge there. You're also getting a competitive edge that, you know, that money, that 5%, you can actually just pocket. Because you're able to. You buy deeper, but you're still probably buying deeper than what you would have to buy from a wholesaler.
Yes.
So from the systems, that sounds like huge.
I think the rehab estimator for me as the acquisition guys that we put together based on pricing, and everything is made simple. It's all based on square footage, except like plumbing and HVAC, which is by ton and by fixture, right? So, but I can literally go to a house, walk through it, and just literally put the square footage of the house, you know, and a number for the renovation is going to pop up for that specific item, and then at the end it's going to spit up like a total, and I get that total, put it into my offer calculator thing, and then it spits out what I need to buy it at for the percentage that we're buying. So that makes, like I said, makes me able to give stronger offers, and yes, we're buying as a flip, so we don't have to build huge fees and stuff like that. But a lot of times, actually, I'm buying better than wholesalers, even for flip. Not all the deals, but like a lot of the deals, like we're buying at 65.
That comes back to your targeted marketing and who you market to. Because if you have a really good list or a really good market strategy, you're the only person marketing.
Yeah, exactly. lists are
I'm
important.
going to transition to teams and what it is on your team. But before I do that, I just want to say if you're watching and if you have questions for these guys, please drop them in the comments. We'll get them to here shortly. So if you have questions, comments, ideas, if there's a direction you'd like to see the conversation go, please let us know.
Yep.
So before, you mentioned that your realtor works with you a lot now as part of your team.
Yes.
Who else do you have on your team? Like what type positions?
So right now I handle acquisitions. Gaspar handles the project manager. My wife, and we have the other realtor that sells. My wife is a realtor as well, so she sells the houses for us. And then we have our contractors that work for us. We don't have like a big team. And Gaspar's wife helps us with the design and some of the office task stuff and staging too, which is
So a full
phenomenal.
family affair.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So staging, do y'all use a staging company, or do you just use your own furniture from your house?
Well, we do different staging things. Basically, at the price points and on the areas that we do some light staging. We don't do some full furniture staging. On higher prices, we do full staging, but depending on the price point of the house.
Who's the stager y'all use in San Antonio? Let's give him a shout out. If y'all have somebody that's worth
Yeah,
giving a
so
shout out.
the one, yeah, we're playing around with that. So I don't
okay.
want to but there's a group of gals that does virtual staging.
Virtual
that we use-
staging, arranged
that we-
virtual staging.
Yes,
They're great.
Heather and I forgot her name, the other one.
What's virtual staging?
So they get the pictures of your house and they
Empty.
stage it virtually, and you just put it on the MLS, and so it gives them an idea of what the
What it
space
would look
looks.
like? Yeah.
And you
look
can
like.
get a board printed with like the furniture as if it was there. You put it on the house, so people walk in the house. There's no furniture, but they get to see how the house would look like with
That's
furniture.
cool. I
We're
mean, I would
experimenting
still,
it.
I would
Yeah.
still prefer like tangible, like
Yeah.
actual this, actual that.
It doesn't-
But
yeah.
maybe I'm just old.
No, it doesn't replace. So that's a important part. Everybody's been asking us, and we're testing it out. But they do a phenomenal job. That's why I want to give them the shout out. Is it doesn't replace the actual seeing the furniture to see the space.
Right.
But at certain price points, you don't really like
Need
because of the market the way it is right now. You don't really need to, but it helps them envision, and it's not expensive to get it done. So like, just spend like I think it's like to do 6 pictures like 125, 150 bucks. Like
Right. Versus like I know the stagers we use in DFW, it's like 1,700 for like
Yeah.
3 rooms or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, 1800.
It's
Regular,
in
yeah.
that range.
So it depends where you are, and if for that house that strategy works, I think that's a very cool strategy.
Yeah.
So from
Test.
from the team, you've got. So it sounds like it's the two of y'all. Y'all are the main
Core, yeah.
the
Yes.
core, and then everybody else is obviously you have your wives' input.
Well,
We have a
but-
bandit sign person, that puts our signs up, but
We have great relationships with a couple of title companies that we do a lot
Yes.
of work with, and we try to. And again, it's
external.
repetitive business helps you with prices and all that, but also helps you with cost by
Right.
streamlining communication and expectations. So we have a couple of title companies that we work with that we sign, spend 5 minutes in a closing, get it done with, easy, fast. We have the realtors, we have a good lawyer that we work with and help us with doing lender documents and all that stuff. So that extended team helps you a lot to scale, to streamline,
Yeah.
to get your costs down.
But,
Right.
Yeah, but now it's where we're getting to the stage where like we're tightening up our process, like we were discussing. Like we went from a certain amount to like exponential growth, and now we're like tightening up the process to start bringing people in to help us get to what
The
we're trying
next
to do,
stage.
which is like 36 to 40 houses a year.
Yeah, it sounds like. I mean, I know this is gonna be an obvious comment, but
Yeah.
the simple fact of if you're good at marketing, why are you even trying to dabble in rehab? And if you're good at rehab, why are you trying to dabble at the marketing? And if you can kind of segregate those duties to where you can really just hone in on what you're good at, right then and there, you're going to be able to, instead of only being at say 80% of what you're good at because you're having to spend time on this other thing, now you're at like 120%. Just for the efficiency model of it, that in itself will help with the systems, help with the scaling.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just seems like that's the
main fact. Like
Yeah.
one of the main factor is the focus. I would agree with you 100%. We just being able to like focus on our strength instead of trying to do everything. It's really what has
right.
helped us scale.
Well, because even if we all have limited bandwidth, but if your bandwidth is focused,
Yes.
you know, it's kind of like the whole. I'm not a scientist, but it's like you've got the power of the sun can light up the universe, whatever, but the power of a laser can burn through metal.
Yeah.
You know, and all it is just focused.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Science.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got going on here in the
Yeah.
comment section. Let me just scroll all the way up. A lot of haze, a lot of highs. A lot of people watching saying hello. Let's dance. Somebody wants to dance before marrying. Gotta love that.
Yeah.
Relationship goals. Where are y'all from?
I'm originally from Brazil, São Paulo, and my wife is from Serbia. So yeah.
And me and my wife are both from Mexico City. Lived in Monterrey for quite some time and moved to San Antonio 5 years ago.
Okay. Is there a big Brazilian population in San Antonio?
Not really. If you go to Miami and Florida, I see a lot of Brazilian people. But in San Antonio, there's not so many. But yeah.
What about the process from start of your marketing to close of escrow? Like just to like dial that in. Like you start marketing,
Okay.
you get the lead, and then how far, and then when's the handoff, and like the weekly meetings?
So basically, the goal is so we do the marketing, get the lead, go see the house, give an offer, negotiate or get the contract signed or follow up, what happens there. Once you get the contract signed, then the contract goes to title. I handle title work. He gets notified from me, look, go check out the house to firm in the budget based on what I gave him on the rehab estimate. He goes to the house, inspects the property, comes up with the budget. We do the bid. We try to do, as if possible, our bidding before we close, so we're ready. And then from that point on, I make sure that the title is ready to go. We both work with our lenders to get the money, and once it's closed, it's up to him, and I just watch basically.
And then you get that, and then what?
So once we purchase the property, I start by starting the permitting process.
Are you starting that before you actually close, or once you've closed?
The permitting process, you have to start it when you close because you have to own the property to go and get the permit. So it's
Got it.
Yeah.
you get ready before. It's like we know this closing is coming, so we get ready with some of the planning of it. Depending on how available is a house for us to go in before we buy it, because sometimes the house has people there, you cannot go in, or it's very difficult to go in. We're suffering from that now from a house.
Yeah.
We're getting our lenders ready, and the appraisal is being troublesome to get because the people are not there, but you cannot go in. So depending on how that works out, we start the planning before or just when we purchase. We do layouts, we do the plan because we have cosmetic rehabs where it's paint, floors, cabinets, appliances done. And we have really complex rehabs where we do from foundation to roof and additions and change walls and do plumbing from everything. So depending on what's the scope of the rehab, we do the planning and do the permits. If it's historic, that's another ballgame, right? If it's not historic, it's easier. But we do a lot of historic. So permitting, if we can start it before or after closing, and then we do the rehab, no? And we follow. We have a pretty clear path of how we do it. I can mention it really simply. We do the foundation demo can go at the same time, framing, mechanicals, rough-ins, all of them. Then you do installation in sheetrock. Then you do paint. Then you do doors, or you do doors and paint. That can change. and then you do floors and finishes, right? Cabinets, all that stuff.
And then you get the blue tape
and then-
monster.
And
Blue
then you
tape.
get the blue tapes
Which is another department that gets notified, which is the wife department, and then they come
and do the blue
and do
tape.
blue tape.
And so that's the handoff. Then after blue tape is done, then we deliver the house to the realtors.
Realtor, and then they do their thing.
And they do their thing, pictures. Well, we do staging, and then they do pictures and all that
Cleaning,
stuff.
yeah. I'm in charge of like getting the cleaning lady in, and then I work with the realtors a little bit on the timing of pictures and all that stuff. But basically, once the pictures are taken, it's theirs to run, to sell.
Right.
Yeah, we just keep in touch every week with them to kind of like, hey, what's the feedback? What's this? What's that? What do you think? And try to.
And then eventually
sold.
somebody tells you to collect the check, and then you all go party.
Yes.
Yeah.
We go to dinner, eat a nice churrasco, and we're good to go.
I've seen the work. It has nice finishes. Who are some of the vendors that y'all use?
Vendors for
I'm guessing the finishes.
for
Hernando Arc or Ars. How do you say Arc? Is it Arcs?
RC.
It's better than mine. I've seen the work. It has nice finishes. Who is some of the vendors?
Okay, so I'm thinking vendors for like finished materials, floor and decor,
Front decor,
Home Depot,
Home Depot, Lowe's.
Mm-hmm.
Depending, we buy some things in Amazon.
Right.
carpet we use.
But you keep it in house. You're not outsourcing the
Carpet,
decision.
we use Lone Star Carpets.
Yeah,
Pat Solomon there.
yeah.
Um,
Shout out to Pat Salem.
Yes. Works with our schedule.
So this is a personal question, but it's Facebook. How do you structure the pay for both of you?
It's
Well, it's a 50-50. We split the profits 50-50, and that's it.
There you go. How do you guys budget your rehabs, and what systems do you to keep track of all the expenses per property?
Okay. The budget is made, I make the budgets basically in 3 sections. And that's the way after many burns and many failed processes, this is what I have come up with, and I think it works. I divide 3 sections. So the first section is all my subs, which, by the way, I hire directly. I don't have a GC that hires a plumber. I hire the plumber. I hire the electrician. I always hire the foundation. No questions asked. And I have a section for that only. So I know what I'm going to pay my subs. Then I have a section for all the material finishes, like the cabinets, the lights, the toilets, the plumbing fixtures, the floors, the granite, all the finishing materials I buy directly. And then I have a section for what I consider the GC, where I break out the work in different sections like demo, framing, tile, paint interior, paint exterior, carpentry, and whatever. And I make a budget for that. And with that, I see how much money do I have for my GC and negotiate with him for that. But I pay the finishings always, and that gets stress out of the relationship with the GC because you don't care if you buy a cheap tile or a very expensive tile. That's your problem. That's not his problem. You choose it, they go pick it up, they put it in. They pay for all the rough materials. They pay for all the 2x4s. They pay for all the hardy backers. They pay for every rough material. They pay for it, and it's part of their budget. I even sometimes help them with purchasing, with volume purchasing, because instead of them going to Home Depot and buy 20 2x4s, we work out something with MG or with Guadalupe Lumber or with even Lowe's or Home Depot, and we bundle up the purchase of that with the roof or with other material, so we get discounts. And they keep those discounts. I don't keep those discounts. If I get them to buy the lumber cheaper, it's their money, not my money.
And they're happy, and they want
And
to
they're
put it
happy and they want to do it again. So we work helping them purchase better, so we keep our costs down.
So the paranoid person in me, and maybe there's other people paranoid as well, is if you're completely detached from the rehab process at all, is there systems in place, or is it just a complete trust factor? And again, I'm not trying to. I'm just asking.
No, that's great.
Is there anything that you can be like, okay, Gaspar just made an extra 5 on this under the table?
Well,
and I don't want to use but I'm just a paranoid question.
That's great. That's a great question, because that's why we're like have our weekly meetings to go over the books, and basically Gaspar keeps track of everything, and every week we go like, okay, what do we order and what, and he shows me the books and everything is clear. There's no problem with us like, oh yeah, he spent an extra $5,000. And in our agreement is like, look, if there's a big purchase like more than $2,000 or something that it's gonna cost us, like you have to talk to me. This is like
and again, I'm not trying to imply anything. I'm just
no. It's a good question.
You seem like a really good guy.
Thank you. The other part of the answer that they ask is, how do we keep track of the expenses? So for a year or so, I tried to hone in on that. And the fact that we can tell you with 5% of certainty what the budget is going to be is that I keep track of everything. So I go to Floor and Decor and buy the floor, right? I don't leave the parking lot without taking a picture of the ticket and registering on my online QuickBooks thing. I don't leave the parking lot without. So I forget about registering expenses.
Right.
And I have all my accounting up to date every day.
So you don't have like a shoebox per property?
No. I've been there, done that, have a problem with that. I don't like it. So for some year and a half now, I really, really don't leave the parking lot of the whole
And I would say that is an amazing tip that all of us should strive to, but I just know some of us, you're on the acquisitions call, you're on a call with someone and you're in the truck, you're in your car, whatever, and you forget, and next thing you know, it's like, where the hell did that receipt for X and X dollars?
And you end up doing that receipt a ball and throwing it in the door
or whatever.
And it's I take the picture, then I can do that, and I don't care.
And when you think about it too, it takes literally like 10 seconds for you to take a picture of that thing, and it's going to take you a lot more time to try to find it later. So it's definitely a good little.
And with that, I can go to those meetings, or I can have a conversation with anybody and tell you to the dollar some of the expenses. For example, the insurance, or maybe Home Depot Pro Services webpage is fantastic. So I don't do that on Home Depot because I know I can get it later, but with a very good degree of certainty, I can tell you right now how much money has gone into each house. Right now.
That's amazing. Like, I know just here at Propelio, I'm on Amazon like daily, just buying random stuff. And then like once a month, Daniel's like, hey, can you give me a spreadsheet of all the crap you bought on Amazon? And I'm like, yeah, give me a half hour. And I literally have to go through the orders and like do. And it's just because I'm an idiot and don't keep track of it beforehand. So maybe I should start doing that. Elizabeth from Houston, apparently it's raining, so she says hi from Houston in the rain. Consistency is key, correct. 8% is better than 15%. I forget what reference that was to. That was from earlier. Somebody saying, y'all looking good. CDMX saludos. I don't know what that means.
Hi.
Yeah, hi in Spanish.
Okay. Hi.
What's up?
Saludos.
I know American. I speak American. What software do you use other than QuickBooks and Propelio?
We also use Podio for our CRM.
And a lot of Excel.
Google Docs.
You don't have to go too crazy out
there.
No.
To have success, you just do it. Communication, important in every relationship.
Yes.
That was my subtle glance at the person who's commented on that. So we're wrapping up here. As far as final words, final thoughts on the systematizing, the scaling, anything that we missed that you just want to throw in?
I think the one thing that really helped me starting to kind of get the process together is somebody once told me, like, try to document everything and figure out a way to, like, that works for you. Some people like to talk and record stuff, other people like to write down, but like really document what's happening in your business. And trust me, like you might think you don't need it right now, but when you're trying to make it a real business and really scale, you're gonna wish that you started doing the things, which is so cliche right now, just thinking about what I'm talking about. But it's like you're gonna wish you did these little things and put the process in place before, when you weren't as busy, than when you are extremely busy and you have like 10, you're getting pulled 10 directions. So just document little by little, start creating little processes for yourself, and sometimes to protect yourself from yourself.
Right.
Like you know what your tendencies are to let things go, so create little rules for yourself. Like this is not gonna happen, or else I'm gonna fire myself, kind of thing. So that's.
Gaspar?
Well, I think that in order to systemize and to grow, one of the things that we have done right is communicate. That they said communication has been key. We literally can talk to each other maybe 2 or 3 times a day for different things. We have no problem with that. But we have some rules set in place, and be clear with the rules that you set in place. Even if you're yourself, or if you're in a joint venture going this together with someone else, and try to follow them and keep them. We have rules about what he can do when he's buying, what are the offers he can do, and we have rules about what do I do when I have a rehab. And every deviation, we commented and we talked about it and we discussed it really, but we don't waste time making decisions. We make a decision and we move on.
Right.
You cannot stop when you're rehabbing and stop your job because you don't know where the kitchen is going to be, or where the sink, or something unexpected comes, with always happens. So the unexpected is expected. So you have to have a system in a way to make decisions and move on, and not stay all day with your indecision, right?
Yes. And be one of the things that with the communication part of it is, there's no touchy subject. We can literally like just say like, you really fucked up on this, and he won't take it personal. He knows it's just
look at all that blue.
Yeah, like we're joking around, and he's gonna get mad at me. But he picked a gray carpet, which is nice, but I personally didn't like, and I tell him every day. I was like, that's a shitty color, and I didn't like it, but
you're not living in the house.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. But I don't think it helped. But at the end of the day,
that's our show.
Yeah,
you get the final.
But at the end of the day, like, we have that trust and that communication that we can say like, I know he's doing for the best for both of us, and that's really key here. I
think the biggest takeaway from talking to you guys is, and it goes back to the whole, going to the gym and working out, is track everything. I'm going to butcher the comment, the quote is, but in order for something to have progress, you have to track it, or tracking measurement, or what's the quote, Daniel? He's got headphones on. Like it's if you can't track it, you can't measure it, or everything's measurable, trackable. Somebody can drop the actual quote in the comment section. It's something in that measure. But as far as doing business with you guys in San Antonio, what are y'all looking for? What kind of networks are y'all wanting to grow? Who are y'all wanting to meet out there in San Antonio to grow your business?
I think obviously any wholesalers or realtors that have deals, just shoot it our way. You have the phone number. I know it's going to go on screen, but it's 210-441-4233, or you can reach via Victor@shapeuphomes.com or Gaspar@pomaproperties.com, and still have that separated. But and then if you have any good contacts as far as contractors, since we're scaling, we're always welcoming, testing new people, and that's pretty it.
Some private lenders, we're always looking for.
Always looking for money.
Always looking for private lenders. We have deals coming up, and we need funding sources. Yeah. And you can check our past performance and see what we do, and we finish our houses, sell our houses, and always deliver.
You can check those videos on his Facebook page.
Yeah, we have done this like around 30 times. Always paid our investors first. So never
had a problem
with that. So
just have to, it's the habit, right?
So one more time, like, how do they get a hold of you guys?
It's you can call either 210-441-4233 or Victor@shapeuphomes.com or Gaspar at Poma, P-O-M-A, properties.com.
And I know Chris Jameson at SF Lending will be mad at me if I don't let you say this.
Yes, and if you need assistance with loans in San Antonio, hit me up, and it's going to be, I do loans for SF Lending, Chris Jameson. It's Victor at sflending.com.
And that being said, we are having the San Antonio REI meetup on Monday, February 26th. I believe that's 1 week in 6 days from now. If we still have plenty of room, I think we've got about 260, 280 registered already for the event.
Yes,
I know
which is
SF
awesome.
Lending is going to be a bar sponsor. We got plenty of sponsors for that, plenty of people. It's going to be a good time. We're going to have a lot of presentations, a lot of education, a lot of networking, a lot of fun.
Yes.
So if you haven't registered for that and you're interested in registering that, by all means, come up and hang out with us. Lastly, again, Propelio.com. If you need leads, you need comps, you need education, you need lead management, check us out, Propelio.com. We offer a 7-day free trial. So if you are in one of the markets that we service, check us out. Again, thanks guys for coming on.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
We'll see you tomorrow. I know Grant is sick, so we'll see if he's coming in tomorrow. I don't know. I'll have to let you know. But later this week, on Thursday, we have Jim Glasgow in from San Antonio, and on Friday, we have Ryan Stuman coming in. So we'll see you next time, and as always, thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.